on the road again. Looks like Quartzite's filling up quick. The temps are starting to cool down. I think we're going to be in the low 90s, upper 80s here soon. So if you want to be out in Quartzite, you better get here and get your spot. Right now we're heading up to northern Arizona, I think one more time. Trucking along at a good 72 miles an hour at a whole 8.6 miles per gallon. Finally, that it's cool enough. I don't have to run the air conditioner in the truck, so I have a little bit of extra power. Things are feeling good, nice and stable and smooth. And that sun is bright in the windshield today. I'll tell you what, having that whole 5 extra horsepower without the air conditioning running makes a huge difference when towing with this Tacoma. So I'm thinking this might be the last trip up north. They just had a snow up here yesterday, but kind of an odd cool down. The temps will come up to about perfect probably today, tomorrow, maybe low 70s, high 60s, with maybe a low of 35 or 40. So I think we should be all good as far as freezing goes on plumbing and stuff. As far as this weekend goes, I have nothing specific planned. Probably just some nice relaxing camping, camp cooking, maybe a little RC rock crawling. That's a pretty neat little general store if you're ever on this, I think it's the 60. But good thing to keep in mind when you're on these little highways and byways out here, you'll hit these little towns where you go from 65 down to 45, so just watch your speeds. But these few little towns out here are definitely a snowbirder's paradise. Plenty of different RV places to stay out here. Some of these little towns you pass through are fairly remote. They don't have a whole lot, maybe a couple Dollar General stores and whatnot to shop at. But probably fairly peaceful and quiet as far as staying for the winter time out here in the west. Lots of neat little towns on this drive. It's a shame this gas station closed down. It used to be open a few years back, but there's not a whole lot going on through these areas during the summertime unless you're farming. Since this may be my last run for the season, I think I'll take a little video of the surrounding area and my typical drive heading up to northern Arizona through the desert lands. It's not quite as pretty as maybe the eastern side, Tucson area as far as flora, fauna go, but pretty nice if you like desolation. I recently had to update my editor app, and some of the tunes and songs I would use for a video changed, so I haven't quite found what I like yet to put in place for these kind of driving scenes yet. That, and I gotta watch the copyright infractions here on the YouTube, and so I'm gonna have to figure that out along the way. But for right now, you'll have to bear with me with the sounds of the road and the truck. Pretty neat little bar. Whole lot of farming out in these parts and areas. Make sure you definitely gas up on some of these longer stretches out here. If there is a gas station, they're usually pretty pricey, like almost $1 more a gallon. I'm not quite sure what kind of trees or what they're growing there. One thing I'd like to note is out here in the west we have a lot of railroad crossings and cattle crossings that you really have to be mindful of when towing, because if you come in here at the speed that's allowed, you will really get thrown around there and your trailer will be hopping all over. The other thing is, these roads can be pretty bumpy even though they've been redone. And while out here, even though most of this is generally flat driving and it looks calm and clear, I've had some pretty crazy wind gusts come out of nowhere. Out here in the desert, in the flats, especially with some mountains and hills around, you'll get kind of convection action going on where the heat's rising or coming down, and out of nowhere you can just get slammed with a side gust of wind. It's really strange. There are some telltale signs other than maybe seeing some bushes moving. If you see a plume of dirt coming up from a dust devil, you're most likely going to be running through some turbulence. And right now we just entered Yavapai County. Pretty cool, you can see a mirage out in the distance on the road. If anybody ever wondered what a mirage looks like. And even though we just got through summer once again, the desert's looking fairly green. We had a lot of winter rains this year, so that really helped some things out. And as usual, this will probably be a fairly long video, so feel free to skip around or leave it playing or fall asleep to it or whatever you do out there. I typically don't like to give away a lot of locations because the camping and RV scene has really exploded, and a lot of these places that used to be pretty desolate and quiet are getting pretty popular and overrun. But if you really pay attention, I leave some Easter eggs in these videos as far as landmarks and maybe some signs go, so you can figure it out that way. You can see that dirt devil picking up like I was just talking about out in the distance. It's kind of an interesting desert out here. You'll get some cactus, of course, a lot of creosote bushes, mesquite trees, Paula Verdes, etc., the normal stuff. You'll get some of these Joshua trees or yucca plants. There's a yucca for you. And we got a Joshua tree right there. Some more yuccas. Interesting fact for those that don't know the desert plants, the yucca root itself was used by the American Indian and Native people to the desert out here. It can be pulverized down and it makes a natural soap. And you start to get into your typical saguaro cactus. It's looking pretty good amount of saguaro up on this hill. Generally out here you get to see saguaro at about the 2,000 to 3,000 foot mark. That's where they like to grow. But just wide open road and desert out here. Even though this road's redone, it is kind of rough still. This is what it looks like sitting in my dash mount. So I have to pick my phone up and hold it here to steady it out, but that tab rides pretty well. This place seems to be a really popular little diner here. Nichols West. And this is the little town of Congress, Arizona. And if you're ever through here, you can tell all your friends that you went to Congress. I'm not quite sure any of the locals or the cacti would really care about your opinion though. And now we're about to make our way up Yarnell Hill. Pretty wild little drive. The road cuts up and across to the top. Not quite sure the exact elevation from the desert floor, but by the time we get to the top, I think we'll be about 4,000 feet. So you're gonna gain elevation here fairly quickly, probably about 2,000 feet in about 10 minutes. got to be mindful of all the people on the hot rods and the motorcycles. From here on up, you'll have a lot of people out on road trips and Sunday rides. Up and over the backside of this hill is where some of the forest firemen had lost their lives to a pretty bad fire up here in Yarnell. They even made a movie about it. It's now a state park. You can pull off the side of the road and take a hike out to the site. Just wind and weave your way up the hill and you get some pretty incredible views from up here. So once you're near the top of the mountain, you can turn around if you want and hit Granite Mountain Hotshot State Park if you want to check that out. It's a memorial and a hike. They have some nice placards to the men that lost their lives out here. And it is a nice little hike. And once you top out, you get to the small town of Yarnell. And just like that, we went from low desert up to, I would say, middle desert, high desert country in only 10 minutes. Pretty wild to go from cactus to pine trees that fast. Now we're about to enter the dangerous and treacherous twisties of the mountains here. If you've seen any of my previous videos, you've probably seen me do this drive before. Very, very nice, but you need to make sure that you are under the 40-foot rule here because some of these turns and bends are pretty tight. I get through it with the truck and the tab pretty well, but there are a couple spots that the guardrail seems to be kind of poking out and in. So, and the other thing to be mindful of are the bicyclists on this road. When it's nice out, they'll be riding this section, and there is no room for error here. This is one of those sections of cattle guard that you really have to be mindful of. The first time I was towing, I went through there at 5 under the speed limit, and I watched my trailer pretty much jump about a few inches off the ground, so everything was okay, but after that I realized I really got to watch it. Most of this higher altitude, steep, twisty, windy road stuff, I can probably handle it in third gear in the Tacoma. Sometimes I'll downshift to second. Now this road is a lot of up and a lot of down and back up and back down, so just take it nice and easy and slow. Let the truck do the braking if you can. Use a little brake if you need to. But you can see it gets pretty tight through here, and in some sections there is no guardrail. Now I'll make a downshift for second. I'm only doing about 25. And I'll just let the truck pull up and through it. We'll hold second through most of this. Now that little tab tracks almost directly behind this truck fairly well, but in some of these tight hairpins you really need to watch crossing the line and coming close to the outer sides of the guardrails. But what an extremely fun and absolutely beautiful drive to camp today. This is a pretty cool overlook and turn. Pretty wild. Getting some of that nice cool air coming in. It's about 55 degrees at 11 o'clock. That air feels pretty chilly for this desert rat. Pretty tight turn right here. We may have to drop this down to first. And just let second sit there and hold on up the hill. This is where it gets kind of tight, especially with these guardrails coming in. That was a tight one. You can see where people have smashed into the guardrail. And you will have to contend with motorcycle riders trying to pass you. And we'll politely pull off the road so we don't get run over. I don't mind doing that, but it's pretty crazy because I'm doing a pretty good job on keeping up through here, even dragging the trailer. But people want to have fun and go fast, so that's cool. You just got to keep a sharp eye just in case. And we're at the 6,000 foot mark. And pretty much everything from here on in is kind of downhill. Super fun drive. I gotta say, that little tab, it rides pretty good back there. It tracks on rails with this truck perfectly. It's almost the same identical width too. Getting kind of cold. I gotta roll the windows up. We're down to 53 degrees. Kind of hoping with this trip I'll catch the either the beginning or the end of fall colors here. Hopefully I didn't miss it, or I'm not gonna miss it, which I might. So far at this elevation, it looks like I'm a little bit early for full fall colors, unfortunately. Yeah, we're getting a little bit of color change. Either way, it's pretty. Just about the perfect time of year to finish up camping up here. Well, we're about to hit town here, and I need to do a grocery supply, and I'm going to skip all that because this video, as usual, is running a little long. But I kind of like it to feel as if you're riding along here on a trip with me, so I don't know how else to shorten these videos up, so I'll leave this one kind of long, I suppose. But after this quick grocery stop, I will be pulling into camp, and I'll bring everybody back for that. All right, we got a dilemma here. This camp loop says one way, and that puts me on the wrong side of the campground for the door on the tab. So I think we're gonna have to break the rules here and go counterclockwise and come in backwards. Super, super small loop. It's kind of a neat spot. The truck and the tab would definitely fit in there. This one was taken, unfortunately, but that would have been perfect. But I think this is going to work out either way. All right, let's check this spot out here. Looks good side to side. Kind of neat. I think that should do nicely. Dang, I just noticed this little guy. Looks like he got messed up. Just a baby tarantula. Check that out. Real small. They won't bother you. They're pretty delicate. He may be alive still. He did look like he got smushed right here. Sometimes when you mess with them, they play dead. So we'll leave him alone. Hopefully it comes back to life and crawls back out to his forest out there. All right, we got everything all set up and ready to chill out. Fridge is stocked and ready to rock. The last hour or so, it's really dropped some temp. I think it's going to be a pretty cold night. It must be cold if I got a sweater on. Had a pretty good lunch, a katsu fried chicken sandwich. So I'm not quite hungry yet, not ready to make dinner. So I think I'll have me a little appetizer. A nice Coors Golden. There's just something about having a classic beer in one of these little bottles. Cheers. And that's good. Like I was saying earlier, I really didn't have anything planned for this trip. So I think what I'll end up doing tomorrow is maybe taking the RC rock crawler out, doing what I call a crawl hike. A very nice trail system they have here. And maybe check some things out, look at some of the plants and maybe some of the animals. Of course, do some camp cooking. But right now I think I'm going to get a fire started since it is getting a little chilly. Man, that is a really jacked up fire pit. And of course, I'm going to cheat a little bit and use about half of this easy log. It's always nice to find the right chopping block. Well, we got something cool to try out today. My brother-in-law knows how much I like to go camping, and he found me an entire case of these fire guys. fire starters. And I'm not huge on fire starting stuff, but it's always fun when you come across something different or new. Looks like a bundle of sticks, maybe dipped in wax with a wick. All right, let's see how this fire starter works here. All right. I guess we just let it sit in here and maybe burn like a candle. All we got to do is get that easy start log going anyway. That smells pretty good. Well, it's doing its job. Got the fire going. So I guess I'd say it works. Yeah, a little fire starter's still going. That's pretty cool. All right. All right, it's getting a little chilly here. So I'm gonna get some dinner going. I was gonna cook a meal, but a little tired. So I just want to do some easy peasy, quick and easy. We're gonna go with some bagged backpacker food. Beef stroganoff. And all we gotta do is boil up some water and we'll be ready to go. Well, it's getting used to the altitude. Or maybe it's too cold. There we go. Just had to purge it. Always make sure you pull out your oxygen absorber or moisture absorber, whatever it is. You don't want to eat it. I'm going to kick this up a little and add some of this spice blend. While that sits and hydrates, I'm going to come tend to this fire, finish off this beer. Man, that's cold. I can't believe I used to just sit out here when I was tent camping all the time and freeze. But I figured for some fun, I'd toss one of these things in. These are pretty neat. Get all kinds of cool colors. They work even better when you got a huge fire. You throw a few of them in there, get all kinds of crazy looking flames coming out. The colors, man, the colors. That's cool. All right, Looks like everything's hydrated. If you ever eat one of these freeze-dried meals, typically the best ones to get are the beef stroganoff. Alright, time to call it a night. I really wish I could get the stars on video with this phone, but I don't think it's going to happen. Well, either way, I'll put a picture up. Oh man, nice and toasty in here. The miracles of modern luxury and technology. Just chilling, watching some TV. I'll tell you what, that cheap flat TV antenna that I bought actually works pretty good. As long as you got some signal in your area. I don't have any cell phone signal right here, but I do have radio TV signal anyway.
Bell push with one single head of beef. Well, I'm cornered, so I'm taking you on. Now this is the way it's gonna be. I'm a man and you're boys.
Well, I'm gonna call it a night, kick back, relax, watch my favorite John Wayne movie of all time. John Wayne and the Cowboys.
Yeah?
All of us?
Anybody that tall?
Alright, coffee time. Brand new percolator top. Here's the old one. They get pretty nasty because they're plastic. I like the old glass style, but I understand why they do plastic now so it don't break, but I still prefer the glass. And for today's coffee of choice, we got some Black Rifle Silencer Smooth. I'm gonna try out some of this Splendid juice. I'm not sure how much to put in though. Let's see how that coffee came out. Looks good. Pretty good, nice and light, smooth. If you use this, only put a tiny squirt. That'll be pretty sweet. Always relaxing hearing the Weather Channel tunes in the background while sipping coffee in the morning. Well, it's still pretty cold out there. I checked the thermometer here about 6:30, 7 o'clock, and it was 40 degrees. The interesting thing is the lithium battery never kicked on its warming pad to heat up, so that's good. But I am now definitely burning through some propane since it is colder. All right, time to get up and make the breakfast. Ooh, man, it is brisk out there this morning. Just about right, though. Today we're going to do some chorizo and egg burritos. For those that don't know what a chorizo is, it's basically a spicy Spanish or Mexican sausage. Warm up them tortillas first. Probably about a half a tube here. Just let it poop on out in the pan. So that's all cooked up, and now we're going to add our egg to it. And it looks like our eggs and chorizo are just about cooked. Probably could have added one more egg in, to tell you the truth, but that works. Now that our chorizo is done, I'm going to take this a step farther, and I'm going to give this tortilla just a toast, because breakfast burritos come out better when you have a little bit of that char on the tortilla. Always better over the open flame. Don't burn your hand. And you get a nice char like that. Now we just put our chorizo and egg in our burritos. And there you go. For salsa, all I could find is this Cholula, but it's interesting because it's actually in a chunky salsa form, so we'll see how that goes. It came out pretty good. Yeah, Cholula salsa is actually not bad. It's similar to the hot sauce, but a little chunkier. Pretty good breakfast. That's definitely going to get me through the whole day. I don't know if it's because I'm from the Southwest down near the Mexican border, but for some reason, I'm always making burritos. That, and I think the tortilla is the perfect vehicle for almost anything. You can put whatever in here. Portability wise, a lot easier to handle too. Got a neat little campground right here at the park, but it's only open midweek. We are ready to do some rock crawling here. I've had a few people ask if I see rattlesnakes out here. And I have seen some, It's not very common. You're most likely to not see them at all because they're going to be blending in to this kind of tall grass. And a lot of their scales are going to match this rock. They're going to be in the nooks and crannies and coves. But that's pretty rare, actually. I think I've only seen about 10 snakes my whole life. 9 of those being rattlesnakes. And I'm pretty sure there are plenty of times I've stepped right over them and never even knew it. That's kind of scary. But I found having the RC crawler along, especially out in front of me, helps out. Because if there's anything hiding around in here, it'll definitely disturb it. I mean, if there were going to be snakes, they'd probably be down in that hole under that rock. Probably down under there during the day when it's hot. They typically come out in the mornings and the evenings just to warm up a little bit. Oh, it's a tough one. That is cool, though. Oh, come on. Awesome. Now, getting out of this is going to be another story. We are completely sideways here. Take a reverse. Come on, little guy. Not gonna happen. Definitely don't want to fall down in there. And that sun is bright right now. Whew. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it did warm up here a little bit. So it's still in that weird part of the season where, you know, the air's probably about 70 degrees, but that sun's still cooking you, especially up here at higher altitude. But we're just going to wind and weave our way up this hill, play around a little bit, get up and above the lake. But what an awesome view. And I totally spaced it, but I could have rented a kayak today. Oh, and there's the real rock lizards. Oh, well, let's try a new spot. A lot of this rock is pretty worn down, so I think we're gonna head out that way and meander back up the hill to the truck. I told you those rock lizards come out. Very strange phenomena. Look at that. Too bad I can't crawl that good. Well, just got back to camp. Did about maybe an hour of crawl hiking. It was kind of nice out there, but got a late start. So now it's time to make one more last meal of the trip. I think I'm gonna make some chicken burritos for dinner. So let's get that rolling. All right, I'm gonna spare everybody the full jargon here. I just picked up the shredded chicken. I'm gonna cook that up in the pan, add a little of this carne asada spice. Throw it in a tortilla with some lettuce, a fresh avocado, and some lime. Of course, we're gonna, once again, warm our tortillas up here. And once again, it doesn't look as good as the packaging. And to speed up our process, I'm just gonna add lime right now, instead of after. I'm even going to add some into my tea. And so I don't have to add salsa in later, I'm just going to add it in right now and make this a one-pan dish. This stuff isn't real spicy, so it's a good way to make kind of a red chicken out of it or something. And we're going to stir it in. The best thing I found with using a backpacker stove and a pan and cooking, because it heats so unevenly, is to just pile everything right in the middle into a dome, and that way it just cooks right through and steams everything. Alright, the chicken is done. So now I'm going to add it to the burritos. I'm going to slice this avocado up. Very carefully, don't cut through it into your hand, especially with a sharp knife like this. We're at our avocado slices. Usually I'd use cabbage, but today I'm going to use some lettuce. There we go. 2 fat chicken burritos. Picked up some chips too. These should be pretty good. That brand of chips pretty close to an authentic chip you get at a restaurant. Let's see how they are. That came out pretty good. Having the right spices is key, although that's for carne asada. It gives it the right Mexican taste. This actually works out pretty good. That's going to be way better than a paste picante. The main problem with store-bought salsa is a lot of them taste sweet or vinegary. I think that's to preserve things, but that's what keeps that from tasting truly authentic, I think. There's a little bit of that sweetness or vinegar to it. But one of the better ones for sure. And that was honestly too much food, but so good. Oh man, I really hate wasting food, I'll tell you that. I think since it's my last trip up north, I'll leave a little out for the Sasquatch. Well, I think this video's ran long enough, so I'm going to leave off with dinner this trip. Next week I'm going to show everybody how I winterize the tab, but who knows, maybe I'll come up and do some cold weather camping with the trailer in winterization mode. We'll see. Then again, I was thinking next week is Halloween. Maybe we'll go hunting for ghosts. See everybody in the next adventure.